Oi, you know what time it is? You're tuned in listening to Dry That Aussie Metal Guy. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his content when it drops. And remember, stay brutal, you mad dogs. Roof.
G'day, how you all going? It's Dry That Aussie Metal Guy here with Crank.com and with Cranium Radio. So tonight, wherever you are in the world, it's a great pleasure that I'm getting to have a chat with Fredrik Åkesson, guitarist for Opeth, who are due to release their 14th fucking studio album, which I'm super excited about. The Last Will and Testament, October 11th through Reigning Phoenix Music. Cheers for joining me, mate.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. First off, can you tell me a little bit about the creative process behind The Last Will and Testament?
Well, it usually starts with Michael, or it always starts with him. He had a vision about doing a concept album that we talked about during our shows at the end. And also the direction for making this one a bit heavier, bringing back the growls, which is like, I know, a big thing for many people, but I still think like many of the more proggier albums, the last four, has a lot of darkness to them, but in a different way, you know. Anyhow, it started off with when Michael writes stuff, he's kind of isolated. So basically, the first stuff we heard was in June last year, early June. Michael sent me a section. He wanted me to do a guitar solo for paragraph 7. And so we basically got one track at a time, starting in the beginning of June last year. And all the songs were written in like December last year. Then all the music was done, but the concept and the lyrics were kind of crystallized up till February this year, right before we went into the studio. So they were kind of morphing all along. But it starts with it usually starts with like a melody or a riff or a little seed that hopefully grows into something like a song.
Yeah, so can you tell me a little bit more about kind of your songwriting process, in particular your guitar parts and your parts for this album?
Yeah, this was kind of different because in Cloud of an Anon, our previous album, I went down to Michael's studio and kind of improvised solos. And I was like, I want to take this home and work a bit more on it. But he was, no, this is perfect. Leave it as it is. I was like, But luckily, well, I mean, they all came out pretty good at the end. I'm happy with them and everything. But this time around, sorry, all the beers last night. And this time around was different with the solos. I did them on my own, and I put more thought into them. So, like the solo for paragraph 5, for instance, which is quite a tricky section to play over. You can't just go playing pentatonic lines, or you have to really be aware of what note you land on. And I try to look at the solos like little tiny compositions within the song. And yeah, I definitely, to put a long story short, put more time and thought into them than I usually do for this album. And my goal was to make them, every solo should be very different from one another. As a musician, I try to improve between every album cycle. You know, I dig into more different styles, and which you can incorporate into your metal hard rock type of playing, listening to different styles instead of. I mean, I grew up with the classic metal stuff, of course. That's my foundation. But now I listen more to like blues players, how they play over chords, or like jazz players. But I realized I can't be one of those guys. But it's good to to raise your limits. Sometimes you can hopefully get some new stuff into your DNA that you can channelize with the band, basically.
Yeah, well, that's something you guys have been so good at. I know everyone's like, oh, the Growls are back, but you have always been one of those bands that have always, for me, I've been a huge fan of, like, I think it was the Damnation album I used to go to sleep to like all the fucking time for ages there, dude. It's been a band that's always been able to incorporate all these different elements to it, and the people that have been around kind of since the start kind of know and accept that. So the last few albums have been absolutely amazing, and kind of where you've probably been able to explore a little bit more of those kind of influences as well on your side of things. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's fun to play with Michael. He always want to keep our on our toes. You know, he likes to challenge us with every album. He's a bit of a sadist in that way, in a good way.
Yes.
Because I mean, challenge hopefully leads to development as well. And yeah, that's super cool. And it's I'm happy you say that. That what you did.
Yeah, so that being said, what was it like when Mike was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do some grouse again"? Like I kind of reading somewhere through a few PR and emails, he started doing it for a few shows, and he was kind of feeling good and kind of a little bit with the new addition of Walt, kind of now with his first record on there, and him being a little bit more on the heavier side, kind of lean him a little bit towards that. Tell me a little bit about that side of things.
Well, we could notice during playing shows, we played a lot of like the last tours we did before the album. We played a lot of old stuff, like we played more of the death era stuff, and I could tell that Michael was really excited about it. His growls came out more guttural than and more powerful than ever, I think. And I didn't think that would happen, but he actually looked pretty excited about growling again, because I know how he works. If I would tell him we have to have growls on the next album, he will do the complete opposite. So the idea has to come from him, and I've been playing with him for almost 18 years now, so I know how he works. So I was just being silent, and hopefully I was, because I really appreciate them coming back, but there was also a purpose for them coming back, not just for the gimmick of it, because they serves the purpose with the new album, and the patriarch dad is it's actually one of his voices as well, so it makes sense. And also you brought up Voltry coming into the band, which he's amazing, and he has all the spectra needed to be a drummer in Opeth and more. But also he's metalhead, like I am as well. But it just felt right to bring it back, and not in a commercial way. Of course, we knew it's gonna be a lot of talk about it. It's a big thing for people who are interested in Opeth, apparently. But it also has to do with the concept of the album. And I mean, we did 4 proggier albums, and we kind of took that to its peak, like we did with the more death metal era for Watershed. That was the time to make something different. Are you still there?
Yes, I am still here. It's a bit jumpy on your end, but that
I think you're frozen.
No, no, no. I am still here.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me all good?
Did
Your
you
net
hear?
dropped a little bit there, but we're still holding on.
Did you
Yeah,
hear all my babbling? Did you get
I
that?
heard everything you said. I heard everything you said there. And so
Okay.
so did the
You
listeners.
were thinking about the picture album, Frozen in Time.
No, no, no. No, no, we definitely caught all of that. And that being said, a couple of times, the album is kind of like a concept album, and we've kind of touched on that. But that's being said, it definitely has a strong narrative element to go along with that concept. So, how did you guys as a band ensure that the music actually complemented the story that was kind of being told through this album as well?
Well, the story kind of morphed along the writing process of the music. It really got crystallized after all the songs were done. I mean, we had it in the back of our minds that it's going to be a concept album and the basic idea about it. But like in February, right before we went into the studio, Michael redid all the lyrics. So before that, the concept was there, but not really like crystallized. But at the end of February, it was crystallized, and that's when it basically came together, everything. But for me as a musician, and I mainly just focus on one track at a time. But as you mentioned, I mean, it's of course there in the back of your mind that it's going to be a concept album, but the music is like crucial. That's the most important thing, like the actual music. I mean, when I was a kid, I grew up listening to Iron Maiden, for instance. I mean, I loved to sit down and read the lyrics, and that was actually a good thing for me being Swedish to learn English as well. And hopefully this album will be like that as well. I mean, we're gonna do the special vinyl edition. We're gonna have the Testament and Will printed, so you can dig into the storyline and the twists and turns of the concept story with this old patriarch and his testament and will to his children. Is also him revealing a lot of secret things they're not aware of. And if you're like a Opeth nerd or interested, whatever, this will be probably a pretty cool thing to dive deeper into.
Yeah, well, I've always loved the storytelling aspect of Opeth and getting lost in each album, kind of holding their own, kind of doing their own thing as well. And this album kind of being a full concept album, it was really a great listen to me, but it was kind of like a merging of both genres, as you mentioned, the death and the progressive, and the way the album finishes with that really awesome kind of ballad, A Story Never Told, was the only track on the album that wasn't a paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Can you tell me a little bit about that track? Because it was kind of a beautiful way to kind of end the album as well.
Yeah, I mean, that solo for me was very important because it's a really long, more of an emotional solo. It's going to finish up the album, so I spent some time with that. But what it is, the reason why it has a name, that track, is it's kind of the twist of the story is within that track. It's not a part of the Testament and Will, naturally, because it has a title.
Yeah.
So this kind of the storyline of it's there's a lady, the girl, who inherits everything, but this is the letter she receives many years after from her mother that reveals something that not even the actual main guy, the patriarch, is aware of. So that's a really cool, interesting twist of the story at the end of the story.
Yeah, it came out really well. Who done your artwork on this one? Because it's
Same
really
one,
yep.
Travis Smith. So, I mean, the latest albums, we kind of went for more like an oil painting type of approach.
Yep.
But this time around, we wanted to do something different. And I mean, some people nail it, but it's a bit inspired by the movie The Shining, you know, that last scene when Jack Nicholson is with all these ghosts.
Why not? We'll share it for everyone so they can kind of have a look while we're talking about it. Yeah, it's an unreal cover, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper, for first. Like, maybe we can bring in some like famous faces in there. But if you look closely, you can find all the band members' faces in there.
Yeah, nice. I'm going to be doing that later.
And also our manager is featured in there, but we dressed him up as a lady, so as a lady hat,
So
which is really fun because in Cloud of an Atom, he's also featured. His face is there's a fountain with a boy pissing.
Yep.
That's our manager's face in the boys. So this is the thing with kind of a fun thing for us. But I mean, most people don't know what Andy, our manager, looks like, but now you do.
Yes. Yeah, well, the artwork for me, I've always loved. I know it's turning into a streaming type of world, but for me, I've always been a big album and physical. I've talked about it a few times recently, how for me, it's always been kind of like the physical artwork as well as the music together. At times, you know, where you'd get your vinyl and you'd open it up and you'd have the notes, our generation, where we'd follow along and we'd check all the little liner notes and would have the big artwork. And
I'm happy that still exists, you know. I mainly listen to vinyl back home, and it is something special with it. And you can tell that it has a bit of a lately. It's been gone up. People actually consume vinyl a bit more, which is fantastic. But yeah, well, you know that since streaming and all that, the industry is different, of course. It's not like the 80s or 90s. But you know, it's inspiring that young people still like new generations are interested in vinyls.
Yes, still getting passionate about it. You guys got a few tours coming up as well, kind of North America, is it? I think then off to Europe. Like, what's the
Yeah.
touring plans at the moment?
Well, there's a lot of plans that's not official yet,
Yeah,
and that includes Australia. So, well, Australia won't happen this year, but it's 99.9% it will happen next year. So, but I can't say any dates because they will yell at me, but I would love to. But I think it's something will be revealed soon, fairly soon, for the people who are interested in us coming back to Australia, which we are because we've always been treated really good coming down there, and it's one of our strongholds, definitely.
Yeah,
The
well, didn't you
support
just
has
play at
always been really strong.
the Opera House or something like that once? Or
Yeah, we did. That was overwhelming because it was sold out in a day or something like that, a couple of days. And yeah, that was super cool. When I would look at TV series with my mom or my dad, I was like, oh, I played there. It's just such an iconic place that everyone knows about, and have to pinch your arm that you actually played a show there. And maybe we'll play it again. Who knows?
Yeah, I was pretty chuffed to see you guys playing there at the Opera House. It definitely must be up there as one of the highlights for your career as well. But you probably
Yeah, I
made
mean,
a whole heap. What are a couple that kind of really stand out besides that?
the Opera House. I always think about that gig Thin Lizzy did back in the day with Gary Moore, and they played outside the Opera House. It's a
Yep.
classic gig. But apart from that, I mean, we played Radio City Hall in New York, which was a big one, and we played the Royal Albert Hall. And we played Red Rocks in America. We played like a Roman amphitheater in Plovdiv a couple of times with a symphony orchestra, and even here in Stockholm, a lot of cool places. Like we've been lucky. We try to pick in the bigger cities where we have the option to play different venues, like New York, London, and so forth. We try to play new places all the time. Like we played in Paris, Olympia, which is a classic place, and we're doing that now again in February. So, I mean, the list goes on and on. But the Opera House is definitely like one of the top three. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you never foresaw this when you were starting out going, we're going to be fucking playing the Opera House, guys, in this many
Yeah,
years.
I mean, and I think like also when we played the Royal Albert Hall,
Yep.
we were the first like death metal band to play that more of a posh place.
Yes.
And Michael started swearing and doing growls immediately at soundcheck just to be a bit childish about it. And I think as well the Opera House, like nobody really played death metal stuff in there before.
Yep.
We did. So that felt. I mean, when we were younger, I would listen to Accepted, Restless, Fast as a Shark, and when we had this Friday night, everybody got to pick a song, and metal felt rebellious, and in a way, that kind of feels a bit rebellious again, playing death metal in one of these posh places.
Exactly, no, but well worth it. You had a couple of special guests, kind of collaborated a little bit on this.
Yeah, I mean, talking about pinching your arm. Yeah, Ian Anderson, who also plays a big role with his narrations on the album. He does a lot of spoken word, and initially he wasn't asked to play the flute. It was actually him who asked, "Do you guys need some flute on the album?" And what do you answer to that? Yes, we do. But it was a real no section for the flute. But it showed out that it fit really well to have a flute solo on paragraph 4, and he plays a bit on paragraph 7 as well. So I mean, that was something Michael and Ian's son James is his manager, and that was the seed for the start of this collaboration. I think he told his dad, "You should do this," and Ian listened to the album, and he seemed to really like it. He didn't even charge us any money; he just did it for free.
Yeah.
And also Joe Tempest did that as well, and he was by Michael's house for lunch, and Michael kind of spontaneously just asked him, "Do you mind putting a bit of a vocal on this track, and he was like, "Yeah, let's try it." And he didn't have the lyrics finished by the time, but so Joey did his take in London, where he lives later on. But he rarely do guest appearances, and to have that combination of Ian and Joey doing call and respond kind of thing, and then Michael comes in with the growls afterwards, is, to me, a very unique kind of combination that hasn't been done before.
Yeah, it's an amazing album. Have you got a couple of favorite tracks off the album, and why?
I kind of like them all, but
yeah,
right now, I mean, paragraph 6, it has a lot of riffs that's kind of demanding to play. It's a bit more faster. I like them all, actually. It's hard to tell. I think they all. There's no fillers on this album as far as I'm concerned. They all serve a purpose, really.
Yeah. So that being said, Fredrik, with the upcoming live performances, is there any you're really keen to kind of get out and start playing to some of the fans live that you haven't played yet?
Yeah, we're just about to start rehearsing anytime soon. I've been dealing with the logistics, building new guitar rigs, and so finally soon we're gonna dig into what we aim to do, what we want to do, play music. So it's been a lot of like promo and fixing now. So I'm dying to just sit around and play guitar again.
Yeah.
But we looked at rehearsing 5 tracks, and the advantage with these songs that they're slightly shorter. So hopefully we could fit in 3 or 4 songs of the new stuff, But some of the songs have, the string orchestra, and of course you have Ian there, and like paragraph 5 is more difficult to do because the string section is playing quite a big role in the middle section of the song, but there are ways to work around that. But for now, we're gonna start with about 5 tracks. Yeah, but it's gonna be exciting. It's always fun to play new stuff, And yeah, it's also very difficult to choose a set list for us because it's 14 albums now.
Yeah.
And initially, before we wanted to play 1 track from each album, which we did now recently by request tour. We did this anniversary tour. But then the set list will be like 2 hours and 40 minutes. But now, I think we changed the approach. We don't have to cover every album. Like for the last couple of tours, we played 2 songs from Ghost Reveries. Like we know that will work well live, that people want to hear. So we want to bring in some crowd pleasers as well.
Yeah, that's another album that holds a pretty special place in my heart as well, dude. That would have been, I think it was the first album I got from you guys and went back and just went crazy buying all of your earlier stuff. And it just...
Oh, shit. Cool.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So
yeah, for me too. I mean, I wasn't on that album, but I listened a lot to it. I think it's a brilliant album.
Yeah, awesome. Look, do you have any last words, shout outs, thank yous, or anything else you'd like to add in there, my friend?
Well, I just hope people who are interested will enjoy the new album. We're happy with it, and we sincerely looking forward to come back to Australia to do some touring anytime soon. And I think something will be out there soon. Regarding dates.
That's it. You heard it there from Fredrik. Everybody go out, get your pre-orders. You can still get them in for The Last Will and Testament. Does drop October 11th through Raining Phoenix Music. Till then, chuck some Opeth in the stereo, crank it up really bloody loud. The neighbours are going to want to hear it too. Cheers, mate.
Love that.
Oi, you're tuned in to Drive That Aussie Metal Guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.